Well, that's a wrap. It's been a wild couple of weeks getting ready to head out and embracing the digital nomad lifestyle. The good thing for me was that I've been working remote forever, so all those kinds of concerns were easy enough to get by, you could say, or to at least transfer over into doing on an international basis instead of just around the United States like I've been doing since the mid-90s. But the rest of it was kind of chaotic. What do you do with all your things? How much of it did I really get rid of? You know, when I started this, I said, whoa, I'm not very professional yet. When I started this, I said that I wanted to get down to 125 items. I did not count how many things are in my bag. Perhaps I will count them when I arrive at my destination, but that sort of slipped my mind as the overall need became more important than a mandate of 125. I doubt I even have 125, frankly. But I had to diversify what I'm wearing more than I thought because the climate I'm going to is right in between chilly and kind of warm. Pretty much the whole time I'll be there. It's called the Eternal Spring. So with that in mind, I had to, and they dress differently than I had thought. The local customs, not so much with shorts and t-shirts. So I had to make some adjustments in what I'm taking. And so that's been interesting too. I managed to set out thinking that I was going to need just one camera, but ended up along the way getting an additional higher quality video and photo camera, which is sitting right over there. It's still out. One of the things that's not packed because I'm going to document the trip that you will be seeing soon. The actual departure, to going through the airport, what it's like to travel under COVID, the international aspects of that, and just all that, and then the arrival at my destination to let you know that I'm safe. For those of you who might be wondering, Mom, people like that. But through it all, I ended up getting a storage place for some of my quote spiritual things because I'm a good nester, you might say. I tend to attract, and I'm looking in my corner at a couple things I still have to hit, my staves and walking sticks that still need to go with me in my final trip to my storage place today. But I've got an inordinate amount of that. I know a lot of us in this community that get into spirituality, but about 10 years ago when this all hit hard, when I came down with that terminal condition and I sort of dumped the outside world and embraced this hope that sort of propelled me outside of the accepted medicines and all that, because their terminal diagnosis was not the reality of the way that I thought my world was going to be, and blah, blah, blah. The story is well documented. We'll talk about it more on the road as I'm traveling from country to country, not only in the digital nomad lifestyle and talking about that, and then the various cultural and spiritual things that I hope to engage out there and also bring in some digital created, well, how else would I create them? Content for YouTube and get better in my presentation overall. But so that'll be going on. But as well as that will be, some talk about what it's like for people with, cancer survivors like myself and transplant survivors. Out there in the world, and what happens? How do you get your medication? What happens if you need blood tests? Like I'll need to get blood tests in cities where I can't speak the language, in hospitals which I'm gonna have to convey to them what I need and where it needs to be sent and why, and then having the result of that manifest itself in whatever way. Do I need to adjust medications? If that's the case, can I do it locally through literally division of pills if it's less? Things like that. It'll be interesting to see. How that works out. Now, the good news is that the VA, the Veterans Administration, who is doing my health care, is going to be there as long as I'm within the U.S. borders, or in some other instances, blah, blah. They'll help, but by and large, I'm on my own. So international health care and things like that came into consideration. Lots of things, and I'll talk about that along the road as I do sort of digital nomad specific video content based on where I've gone and the experience, and tell you about it and show you how much it costs, and all the regular things that are presented in those kinds of videos as far as high-speed internet and community workspaces and etc. So that's it. I just wanted to drop by real fast and sort of give an update that the show is about to begin in a different way, that the sort of dramatic version of all this is wrapping up, and I'm moving into the action phase. And it's a live fire exercise, as they say, And so therefore, there's no do-overs. It's all accountable for every step I take, and everything, every situation, every positive, every negative, all that, is going to be based on what I just did. And so I need to keep that in mind. It's interesting to think of the space of the digital nomad of, there's so much blank space in that, and how do you keep yourself? You have to, for a person that has lived alone and worked remotely. I haven't worked for anybody, as I've said, since 1990, but I've worked remotely since 96, 97. So with that in mind, I have never really had to put a lot of structure around me. As I've said before, I've never had to call in sick. I've never had to ask for time off. Also never had a human resources department or, things like that. So, but now I'm going to have to be in a position where it would seemingly be even less structure, but then having to self-impose it all, like get a routine together just to keep a semblance of order in your life, so you're truly not just drifting out there in a world where everybody you meet has never seen you before and likely will never see you again, and you don't speak the language, and that's your constant. That's your every moment, more or less. I mean, there will be times, obviously, when I meet English speakers, and the good news is for me personally, in my maiden voyage here, I am going to be meeting up with another person who is considering moving into the digital nomad space, but is local, that I already know. And so that will help with the language barrier as I find my way. But by and large, as I go from country to country, the game is not to learn the language, not in a way that I don't care, but in the way that I'm there doing my work. It's a working thing. It's a digital entrepreneur space. It's not, the nomad part comes from the being non-specific, non-location dependent. In other words, you can work remote from anywhere in the world if you choose to. If you don't have any other reason why you don't want to do that, you can choose to do that. And so that's the basis of that, and we'll talk more about that. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got. Another one of my super fancy videos here. And like I said, I got a new camera. I got all the software now. I'll turn it back to the way that I used to do things when my .com career with Yahoo Sports and all that, with lots of past experience in video editing and production and content and stuff like that. So dust off those skills as I move forward, and you should expect to see the first one of those early next week, if not a little bit sooner, but it certainly will be done well by my standards anyway. Before I put further videos like this out, I'll drop in and say things like this, because this is real. It's really happening. It's me. I'm not an actor. I'm not like in only videos, and this is the way that I've more or less been on Facebook for at least since the beginning of Corona, and then off and on throughout the last couple of years. I've had instances like this, particularly when I was going through cancer and transplant. And so. With that in mind, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you can, because that will help me along the way in an abstract kind of way. I don't really want to get into all that, and then also if you're interested, it'll let you know, whenever I put out a video. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask here. I will share this to my other social media places. I don't know if Instagram's a bit of a struggle on that for whatever reason, but Facebook will be there, and I do have my photos that I used to put all the time on my personal page on Facebook. I won't be doing that anymore. They're going to go pretty much on Instagram. And the videos will originate on YouTube. And then I have writing included in this as it'll be developed. That'll be on my blog on windandraven.com. And of course, I will just, so that everybody doesn't have to like and subscribe to everything, although that'd be awesome. If you just did this one, everything will be mentioned here and ultimately linked in the comments section below. As I, again, move into this space, I'm trying not to overthink it ahead of time, knowing that I'm just going to change everything as I go. So I'm just, as it occurs to me as something that needs to be, I do it then instead of trying to project the future, blah, blah, blah. So now I just have to cross my fingers and hope that two things happen. My COVID test returns in time, and it is not positive. That would be unfortunate, especially, it has nothing to do with getting the COVID part. It has everything to do with the traveling and not being able to, and all that would entail. But it would just be another thing, and this would happen later. But so as long as that doesn't happen, and you see another video about this on Wednesday saying, hey everybody, bad news, I'll probably next put something up here on YouTube, probably Monday of next week, which would be, I guess, the 4th, something like that. Yeah, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, yes. I leave on the 1st from Atlanta, Georgia at 7:30 in the morning. I leave Athens on the 2 o'clock shuttle. I transfer out of Fort Lauderdale. I land in my destination at 1:45 local time. So I'm not going that far, but I'm not going to be in the United States. And I will be checking in from Medellin in a few days. Adios.